Badchalan Aurat.
आवारा लड़की, बिगड़ी हुई औलाद,
बेहया,
बेहया,
बेशरम, बेहया,
बेहया। स्लट को क्या बोलते हैं?
रांड. Welcome to Dirty Brown. I'm your host, Kriti J, and this is the podcast where we bring out the jhadu and stir things up. In our last episode, we dove deep into the question, can Bollywood item numbers be feminist? If you haven't seen it yet, you're absolutely missing out, so make sure to check it out. The link is right here on the screen and also in the show notes. We got such incredible feedback on that episode, and it was all because of our amazing guest. So, by popular demand, I'm thrilled to welcome Shruti. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Excited to be here. Let's jump back in.
Let's do this. Today, we're going to talk about a new topic, which is equally fascinating. And this is going to be about the non glamorous, non dance number roles that are reserved for female characters in Bollywood. And we're going to get into how Bollywood portrays them, what types of tropes they're commonly using to show these female characters, whether these roles are evolving, and why we need to talk about this. We also have an exciting announcement at the end of the episode, so make sure to stick around. And I know you can forward to the end, but let us walk you through it. You're going to love this conversation. When it comes to female roles, Bollywood loves to portray these two different tropes. On one hand, we have the good Indian woman. She is innocent, submissive, very demure, self sacrificing, family oriented, and not overtly sexual. We are going to call this trope the Abla Nari trope. I think it's absolutely fitting. Abla Nari in itself means a helpless woman. A lot of the times, these characters are primarily defined by the relationships with men. So, for example, a devoted daughter, a loving wife, or a sacrificing mother. And then on the other hand, we have this trope of a bad woman. And essentially, a woman is bad when she's not conforming to the societal expectations and gender norms that are essentially rooted in patriarchy. So, a complete opposite of Abla Nari, this woman chooses her own needs. She's somebody who is independent, confident. She doesn't let the whole lo kya kahenge influence the life choices she's making. And because she doesn't live by societal rules, she's definitely rejecting purity and is not modest by any means when it comes to Indian standards. And so we like to call this trope the Badchalan Aurat trope.
Amazing. I love that. I love that word. And when we were talking in that video earlier, I think when you said Badchalan, I was like, yes, my favorite word. That is an amazing concept that was introduced to us thanks to Hindi movies, but we are not letting it go. Thinking about the history of that word, there's a strong negative connotation, right? Badchalan art is labeled for women, when you want to shame them for their behavior, want to police them, make them conform.
I mean, it literally means ill mannered or characterless.
Exactly, exactly. There's a spectrum there too. The more empowered you are, the more butchalan you are. But then also along that spectrum, there's serious consequences, right? Like you are ostracized in society, looked down upon, and generally treated like you are an immoral person, kind of extra promiscuous, kind of mudding the societal value, the fabric of society. So there's real consequences, but that trope is definitely pushed by Hindi cinema.
100%. You're basically punished when you're choosing yourself. So let's look at some movies to sort of see how these tropes are actually portrayed on screen. I want to start with one of our favorite actresses, Deepika Padukone, and her movie Cocktail that came out in 2012. I think that movie is by far the one example I can think of that portrays these tropes so perfectly. On one hand, we have the role of Veronica, which is played by Deepika Padukone. That's essentially the Badchalan Aurat trope. She is this wild, free-spirited woman who's independent, confident, wears what she wants, lives her life by her own terms. And then stark opposite to that is the other character, Meera, played by Diana Penty, who is this soft-spoken, family-oriented, very reserved woman. And Meera is portrayed as this desirable, sushil sanskari bahu that you would want to
That's
have.
right. And in this love triangle, the male character that Saif Ali Khan plays, he's in love with Veronica. It all starts out when they're a couple, and spoiler alert, he picks Meera at the end. The extreme versions of their tropes, it becomes pretty clear. The one who is more in line with societal expectation, a little bit more dependent, demure, is the good bahu, good girl. The character picks her. So the messaging is very obvious, and Veronica is definitely portrayed like something's wrong with her. She's the edgy one, and like, look what happened.
She's the bad influence.
Exactly, exactly.
I don't know about you. I definitely relate to Veronica in that movie. I don't know what that says about us.
Well, you know what? She was the hotter one.
She was the hotter one. Let's look at another movie of hers where it was a more nuanced role. And that movie is Piku. She's playing this independent, career driven woman. The story is about her relationship with her hypochondriac father.
Semi liquid motion first, then 2 days of gas and constipation. What should I do? ये कोई मैसेज होता है देने के लिए ऑफिस में?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, messy comedy, drama. And honestly, Piku's character is so nuanced and well written. It definitely breaks the binary. When you look at her, there's some aspects that you could consider like Badchalan Aurat, whether it's promiscuity, whether the fact that she's not a virgin. But on the other hand, she's balancing her career and her life as caregiver and like as taking care of a parent. That and kind of living a life that she hasn't necessarily chosen for her, but just as a matter of circumstances trapped in there. So that's, yeah, I feel like that's one of the only characters I know recently that have shown both those aspects of the spectrum in one character.
100%. That was one of the first Bollywood movies where we got such a nuanced character. Let's look at another actress, one of our other favorite actresses, and I think the discussion would be incomplete without talking about Taapsee Pannu. I just love the roles that she chooses. When I was looking at her movies she's done recently, I feel like her roles are definitely complex. They're on the spectrum of the Abla Nari and Badchalan Aurat. But her roles, they tend to be more on the Badchalan side than the Abla Nari side.
Yes, she's an amazing actress, and you can't go past Taapsee Pannu without, of course, her amazing, amazing role in the movie Thappad, and where she goes from like basically living a life of this like good housewife, showcasing Abla Nari traits. But then, as the story moves forward, the Thappad, the slap, kind of changes her life, and she slowly goes back to taking control of her life. The point of the story was that a moment can change your life. So it doesn't have to be an amalgamation of her character traits or circumstances. Just that one moment led her to being a different person, and I think there was something very uh, Bachalan about that.
I totally agree with you. We watched the trailer before starting this recording, and the trailer is quite intense. That intensity shows what happens when you go against the societal expectations. It's so beautifully shown in the movie with everybody around her telling her, what's the big deal? It's just a slap. Move on, be with this person. Shit like this happens. She fights through all of that.
So just one slap then. Just a slap, but नहीं मार सकता.
Love it. Like I'm like, yes, you go, girl. Like, yes, choose yourself, stand by your principles, don't budge from that. It's amazing to see that on screen. We're seeing less of the Abla Nari and more of the, women choosing themselves, which essentially is what Bachalan really is. And we kind of saw this in the movie review that we recently did in Aap Jaisa Koi, the feminist icon Kusum Bhabhi. She definitely was also the Bachalan Aurat because she chooses herself. She rejects the patriarchy at home and falls in love with this other person who respects her. So, damn, is Bollywood becoming feminist?
It appears so, but we still have item numbers in the media, and for like every Thappad, Piku, and even Aap Jaisa Koi, we still have your animal, Teri Baaton Mein Ulj. aise ulja diya, like it's still meant for the male gaze, and women are still portrayed as either an object for male entertainment or as a love interest to show sort of the achievement and the prowess of these male characters, right? They're still symbolic that way to portray something else, except for tell their own stories. So who knows?
Yeah, actually, I forgot about those movies, especially movies like Animal. They are so regressive. They kind of feel like 100 steps backwards for every one step forward that media takes. Yeah, I mean, things are evolving, maybe not in mainstream Bollywood as much, but in streaming content for sure. I think media does have an influence on how we think and what we think about ourselves. And if you continue to see women rejecting their own needs, like that is something that we tend to internalize, right? And so it's good that these more and more of these roles are coming up. And Bollywood is helping reclaim the badge of Bachalan.
It's so important. It's so important to reclaim that, because, like, what are the traits associated with Badchalan Aurat that's considered bad, but it's actually not bad?
The biggest one is choosing yourself over other people's needs.
Like Badchalan Aurat, independent thinker, like educated, self-sufficient, financially independent,
not being afraid to express your sexuality. So yeah, like all of these traits are something that, like, why wouldn't we want that? It's essentially freedom to be who you are, express yourself as, however you want.
So why be under a threat? Let's take back Badchalan Aurat. Like, those are all amazing things. We should all aspire to be a Badchalan Aurat.
Yeah, because you cannot control a Bachalan Aurat, and that's basically why historically these terms like Bachalan have been used to sort of shame women and control them, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I think it's good that Bollywood is with these complex, nuanced roles. They're continuing to show that there's nothing wrong with choosing yourself and, with being a Bachalan. But at the same time, I think the conversation is still, this conversation has only just started, and there's a lot more to be done in this space. And so I think it's a good time to introduce our audience to this new series that we're going to do. It's Dirty Brown presents Badchalan Aurat.
Girls like to swing.
We're going to be looking at not just the celebrities in media and pop culture, but also just everyday women like us and all you listeners out there. It's a space to feel seen and heard. We have so many exciting episodes coming your way. So make sure to subscribe and follow this podcast wherever you get them. And by the way, just a quick sneak peek on one of our upcoming guests. You have already seen her on this podcast before. This episode today, honestly, was dedicated to all you Bachalans out there, who continue to choose desire over shame, freedom over silence, and your truth over tradition. And most importantly, you choose yourself. And, if this resonated with you and you want to come on the podcast, I would love to talk to you. So definitely reach out and let's make this happen. And oh, by the way, Shruti and I never quite answered what a slut is called in Hindi. I urge you to Google that, because the language, as you will see when you Google it, it's equal parts amusing and saddening. But honestly, trust me, you do want to know the translation. So go ahead, Google that. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much, Shruti, for coming on. As always, this was a great conversation.
My pleasure, Kriti. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know in comments what you thought of the episode. Until next time, goodbye.
It's not funny, yeah. Plus, it's also just like, generally speaking, this topic is not funny, right? Like, we're talking about a serious problem here. I think I'm overthinking it.
For a woman to be stamped as Bachalan, because when you're measuring women from, fuck my nerves, oh my god. Okay. I don't know why I'm so nervous.